It's over 9,000!
Welcome to Really Warriors, the final forum, a podcast with a discussion of all things Dragon Ball. I am your host, Jelly, an elite recruiting member of the Frieza Force on a mission to find the best warriors from across the galaxy to join the greatest army of all time, and I am joined as always by my co-host.
This is the Bekinney, and join us as we uncover the cultural inspirations and hidden history behind Akira Toriyama's seminal franchise.
Have you gathered up your strength yet?
Yet? It's been just moments since we stopped recording our last episode.
My question stands.
Well, smart guy, just so happens, I actually have. That's all you can say? Is that hard to just give me a compliment?
Tell you what, if this works, you can have an attaboy when we're out of this dimensional rift and back on our feet.
If this works, huh?
Yeah.
So what is this, then? What's the plan?
Okay, gather all your ki, concentrate it in your center, like you're trying to shout all of it out at once.
Okay, then what?
Then do that.
Do what?
Shout all of your ki out. Aim right there where the mist is swirling.
That's your big plan? To shout?
Yeah, I just hope we don't get a copyright strike for doing it.
What?
Listen, this might be our lives here, but Toei's lawyers don't play. Anyway, let's do this. Ready?
Ready.
In 3, 2, 1. Ha!
Ha! Look!
Yeah, it worked. Tore a hole through the fabric of whatever this reality is.
So let's go.
Just a second.
Just a second?
Well, it might not be safe to jump through. Let's give it some thought.
Thought? How long do you think this hole's gonna stay open?
At least as long as it takes us to discuss this week's topic.
And this week we're going to be talking about episodes 91 through 95 of Dragon Ball Z and talking about the big to-do at the end of episode 95. But before we do that, let's do our brief little calls to action here. This show is free, and I would like for it to be free forever. I really actually would never like to even put ads into this show, frankly. So, what you can do to help us and help make sure that happens is spread the word. Go on your podcast app, whatever you're listening to this on, throw us a rating and throw us a review. The review can be one sentence. Jelly told me to review this, and so I'm doing it. Love the show. I guess that would be technically two sentences, but those kinds of things hit the algorithm trackers harder than anything else. So do those two things. Throw us a star rating, throw us a review. If you're not listening to us on a podcast catcher and you're listening to us on like YouTube, throw a like on the video so that we can keep growing and we can never have to add in ads.
But we'll do it. So you better add us, dang it. Was that a convincing threat? Did that work?
Worked for me. I'll go
All
rate
right.
us right now.
Well, if that didn't work, here's my episode review, so strap yourselves in, folks. At the top, with episode 91, Embodiment of Fire. So, Goku's running at a constant Kaioken times 10 and is still taking a beating. Things are not looking good right now, and Captain Ginyu's trying to pull off yet another body swap. Or at least he would be if he hadn't blown his cover first. Ginyu tries to overcome them by force, but no dice, obviously. Bulma's not a fighter. He makes a last-ditch effort at swapping with Piccolo, but falls for the old thrown frog bit yet again. All's well that ends well, I guess. Goku continues to get ragdoll. Frieza sends him a nifty little warning shot that results in a bottomless crevasse that starts draining the ocean, just to kind of give you a sense of exactly how much ecological damage is going on here. A lot of people start to belabor the point, but basically this is bad. Goku has one last-ditch plan. Try a 20 times Kaioken while Frieza isn't expecting it. He continues to take a thrashing, then Frieza holds his head underwater to drown him. Yikes. He hallucinates the death and destruction to follow on Earth, which motivates him to pull the times 20 pin. He gets Frieza off balance, then launches a Kamehameha wave in a real Vegeta 2.0 moment. This results in Frieza just getting a little scorched. Which brings us to episode 92, titled Trump Card. So a 20 times Kaioken Kamehameha didn't do the trick. That sucks. Looks like I might have taken out the animation budget, though. We spend a bunch of time rehashing, emphasis on the rehashing, that the Kamehameha didn't work, and that is until we get to Frieza's inner monologue. It would seem that it was actually very effective at hurting his pride. Frieza slaps Goku around for a bit since he blew his energy reserves with this little stunt. Goku even hallucinates a conversation with Vegeta, but he learns new information, so I guess it's more of like a supernatural FaceTime than like a hallucination. But it's a neat scene in all honesty. It steals Goku's resolve and his battle power recovers, as well as the budget, but it still doesn't prove to be sufficient. Frieza continues the torture and Goku's on his last legs. This seems like a great time to check in with Kaio-sama's planet, where a ruckus has started in Kaio-sama's kitchen. The pilferers prove to be none other than the Ginyu Force. They don't nail the first entrance, but with a quick sidebar, they give it another go, which leads to another sidebar, kind of patting themselves on the back. Totally on brand for these guys. We love it. Back on Namek, it looks like Goku's ready to give up the ghost. He even reaches up to heaven. Wait a minute. Is that a spirit bomb? Sounds like it's their best shot, but it takes a bit to charge up, especially when he's reaching out to other planets to help charge this thing. It looks like it'll be worth it, too, because it is getting massive. And since Frieza can't sense energy, he hasn't noticed it yet. That brings us to episode 93, titled Keep the Chance Alive. So we have a massive spirit bomb and a Goku that can't move, and neither can anyone else by the look of it. Frieza's starting to question the situation, however. It would seem Goku's last-ditch Kamehameha did something else as well. Planted a small seed of doubt. Then we get some egregious padding while Bulma relates Goku's backstory to the frog. The Genki-Dama is still charging, and still no one has made a single move. I guess they're trying to recoup their animation budget. All the action seems to be taking place on Kaio-sama's planet, 9 minutes into the episode. The Ginyu Force introduces themselves to their new friends, or subjects, I guess. Yamcha and Tien take exception to this, and they've got some tension to work out. The Ginyus decide on a display of force/systems check of their techniques. Some extreme property damage later, and Kaio-sama himself has to come out to see what's going on. Wait, wasn't he outside earlier? Never mind. Back on Namek, Frieza runs out of patience. Goku takes a beating, but doesn't take his eye off the spirit ball. Frieza just gets more and more angry. He seems to be interpreting the hands up in the air as Goku mocking him. Piccolo and the others realize that they may have to step in here to protect Goku, so they concentrate all of their remaining energy into Piccolo so that he can run distraction. Once Piccolo fully charges his solar beam, Frieza also happens to finally notice the Genki-Dama. The literal moment before he finishes Goku, he gets Piccolo's foot in the face. Goku goes back to charging it while Piccolo runs a fade on Frieza. This leads us to episode 94, titled Power of the Spirit. So the spirit bomb's out of the bag, and Frieza's looking to put an end to things now. Piccolo's putting everything he has into a final stand to buy time. His attacks do nothing, but at least they look pretty. Frieza dismantles him pretty quickly. Speaking of quick work, back at Kaio-sama's, Tien, Yamcha, and Chaozu are about to face off against the Ginyu Force. They appear outmatched and even a little unsure of themselves, but Kaio-sama doesn't seem worried. It would appear the boys don't know their own strength. Meanwhile, Piccolo is on his last legs, and the spirit bomb still isn't done. But in another hair-raising last-minute surprise, Gohan and Krillin jump into the fray to help Piccolo. The constant annoyance has taken Frieza's anger to a new limit. He decides he's going to blow up the planet and be done with it. Oh, hey, and wouldn't you know it, the spirit bomb is done now, too. Frieza tries to push back against the massive bomb and doesn't blow up on contact like Vegeta. Does that mean Vegeta was more evil? Anyway, but eventually gets blasted once they make contact with the surface. The blast is massive and just as visible all the way from the Grand Elder's place. Kaiosama begins celebrating while the Ginyu Force look on in fear and alarm. Holy cow, it actually worked. Which leads us to episode 95, the end of the Frieza Saga. No, it's not. Its title transformed at last. Okay. So the spirit bomb worked, and we all lived to see another day, and it only caused massive ecological harm to the planet Namek. Krillin and Gohan are also worried that it might have cost Piccolo and Goku as well. Luckily, they both survived, and Piccolo has fished Goku out of the water. A little waterlogged, but still alive. With Frieza gone and the good news starting to spread, the Ginyus soon fall in line. Well, fall into Hiffle, to be more accurate. They try to fly out, but soon hit the barrier and realize they're trapped. Kaiosama reveals the whole thing was a setup by him in advance. What a rascal. Back on Namek, the boys are getting ready to head out when Krillin suddenly remembers that they forgot about Bulma. Everyone has a laugh at her expense, poor woman. Then Krillin has another moment, one where he's frozen in fear. It would seem Lord Frieza is still alive. Before anyone can react, he tries to take out Goku, but Piccolo takes the hit in his place. And so Gohan gets to witness the murder of his teacher up close and personal for a second time. Krillin's reaction is astonishment, and Goku's is anger. He tells Gohan and Krillin to make a break for it. As they argue, Frieza decides he's done playing around and goes for another victim, Krillin. Krillin goes boom in a very dramatic fashion, and it's yet another hero done in. This sets Goku over the edge, which leads to a strange series of events. The sky darkens, there's a lightning storm, and a resurgence of power from Goku. His aura turns gold, along with his hair, and his eyes change from black to a bluish green. What could this be? He tells Gohan to find Bulma and run from the planet. He's looking pretty pissed. You might even say super pissed. And that's where we end for this week.
It's unfortunate that the pacing on some of these episodes is so terrible because there is actually a lot that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't know. I'm not sure how I would fix it while maintaining this general pace.
Yeah.
But like, could you maybe spend more time, just as a for instance, on how huge of a deal it is that Piccolo saves Goku twice?
Yeah.
Like, What is it?
He keeps Frieza from killing him while he's charging the Spirit Bomb. Spirit Bomb goes off. Goku almost drowns. Piccolo pulls him out of the water. So that's technically saving him there as well. And then when Frieza shows up again, Piccolo jumps in the way to save him yet again. So it's like 3 times in the course of like 2 minutes.
And this is a guy who, for us, 90 episodes, and for the characters in the show 3 months ago? No, a year and 3 months, something like that. Yeah. But still, killed Goku.
Yeah.
granted inadvertently, but he was not at all upset about doing it.
Yeah, no, he saw it as an absolute win, let's be real.
Yes. So in that much time, he's gone from living his entire life, and that's like not just oh, he killed him and saw it, like not even as simple as he killed him and saw it as a win. He was living his life with the sole purpose of killing him.
Yeah.
To, I'm going to save this person's life. And I feel like you could spend a little more time on that. You know, then
like if you had to pad, maybe the place where you pad is kind of reviewing like how far Piccolo has come.
Right. I wonder, like, if that would work. To me, it almost seems like it might. It really might work if you did it after he saves Goku from drowning, because you do sort of a reflective, wow, Piccolo, you've come a really
and it's
long way,
that
blah, blah, blah,
same
blah.
scene where tension's kind of dropping right before Frieza shows up again.
Exactly. And then you really hammer home the emotion of Piccolo taking that blow, because it's like, oh, I guess I'm not evil anymore. Blah. Like,
yeah. And it would almost be like a moment that mirrors what he did for Gohan, but now he's doing it for Goku, the guy that he swore that he would kill.
Right. So there's things like that I wonder if you could still keep the general pace, because we'll have an episode that goes up someday. I think I would like to do it as a panel, maybe once or twice more if I can get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll have an episode that goes into the math of the filler behind this stuff. We're at a point right around now where a chapter is coming out and they are around 12 weeks ahead of the anime, which is pretty much exactly as long as it takes to produce an episode of an anime series. So you are running from Toriyama's hands to the anime staff and be like, make an episode out of this.
Yeah, it's a tall order. And that's why
they're like, this is 20 pages of fighting. Like, this isn't like...
This is like 10 seconds of animation. What are you guys doing to us? Yeah, no, it's a tall order, and that's why I don't think I have been super critical of the padding in this particular storyline. I think the bulk of my complaints around this arc have to do with how I was introduced to it, which was through Toonami, and they would stop at some arbitrary point. I realize it's not arbitrary, but from the perspective of a kid watching the shows, they would stop at some arbitrary point and then restart the entire series and go all the way back to that point and then get maybe a few more episodes further and then same thing again, which I think makes it even harder to watch.
And there's a little bit, not a lot, but there is a little bit of that padding that is the kind that I don't like. And we've talked about the difference between when you're building up to a fight and then you pan over to Bulma and she is, boy, what's going on? And she has like a little misadventure. You're still feeling the tension draw out. When you are blowing off that tension and then you pan over to Bulma and she's having a little misadventure, you're like, get back to the thing.
Yeah, why are we leaving like mid punch? Like, what is going on?
Yeah, and there are times where they do it and it almost works because, like, you know, it's hard to know exactly it's hard to really explain it, but like there are times, especially early in their fight, when Goku and Frieza are punching each other and the whole planet's shaking, and then you pan across the planet to someone who's like, why is the whole planet shaking? Okay, that gives us a feeling of the impact of what's happening here.
Absolutely.
But there definitely are times where it's just like, oh my god, please just stop.
But
we don't care.
I agree, but I will say that watching it now, like all straight through, is way better than the first time I watched it. That's for sure.
Yeah. This part of the show especially does not work. And to be fair to Toonami especially like the way I watched a lot of Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z early on was in those after school Toonami blocks where it was like every single day.
Yep.
So at least you got like a new episode every day.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how frustrating this would be waiting a week between episodes.
Yeah, that'd be pretty rough.
Watching these 5 episodes, and I did like 3 and then 2, totally fine.
Yeah.
But watching one a week, I would be climbing the walls.
Well, I mean, because at this point we're at like 20 episodes since Goku and Ginyu swap bodies. So
yeah.
So that's almost half a year right there just to get to this point. If you're doing it weekly. That doesn't count like any times that like they didn't have an episode for I don't know, holiday or whatever, right? It's just straight.
Yeah.
If you were getting one every week, that's half a year right there.
Oh my goodness.
And we've still got
putting it
a few more episodes to go.
Putting it in that context is like, oh my goodness. It's kind of like eye-opening in a way. Yeah. So, I have some thoughts, obviously, I think we both do, about the big end of this. I kind of want to save those for the end because they'll kind of come naturally. Also, I really want to say, I think this episode and our next episode are going to be like companion pieces with each other in a lot of ways. So if you're listening to this one, look forward to the next one, because there's going to be like a lot of kind of cross-pollination of discussion topics between these two, especially as we're going to be talking about the Super Saiyan transformation in some detail today, and then as we get talking, I'll give a little preview since I already know, actually, for once, what our next episode's about. We're going to be talking about like ki and ki control next episode, and I think that plays a lot into this sort of discussion.
Wait,
so I think they're like companion pieces.
You know what we're going to talk about? We have time traveled. Oh my god.
So, as a disclaimer, a lot of this discussion is going to be phrased in the context of the Vegeta and Goku dichotomy. It ultimately will become clear why when we get a little bit later on. You'll kind of see, and I'll probably make sure to crassly, poorly, satirically point it out and be like, "Oh my god, it's finally clear." But keep in mind that very often when we're talking about Vegeta, you can very much extend at least some of that line of thought to Frieza as well, especially in the context of like might makes right, because that's where Vegeta really learned it from. But also, in many ways, even though he dies and is at this point been gone for several episodes, Vegeta's like kind of the main character of the Namek arc. He has the most growth and change throughout the arc, and while it's not for quite some time that he openly admits to even himself that he's part of the gang now, his redemption arc starts here. And it's at its most pronounced when Goku essentially forgives him as he lays him to rest after Frieza kills him. Goku admits and essentially tells the viewer/reader that Vegeta can barely be blamed for almost anything he's done, and his deeply broken understanding of the universe comes from this mad despot who essentially raised him. But so, that disclaimer aside, Dragon Ball is a story about growth, ultimately. It might not seem that way all the time because the general premise is cyclical and repetitive. New bad guy shows up, characters falter in the face of the bad guy's overwhelming power, characters train, characters defeat bad guy. It's the general cycle that Dragon Ball goes through. But the Dragon world is always expanding and the power levels are ever increasing. Our characters' understanding of the world around them and how they interact with it is what's growing and changing, even if that growth and change is incremental and slow. There can be no growth without conflict, and the conflict in Dragon Ball is almost always depicted via battle. However, these conflicts and battles, as we've mentioned in past episodes and just in general throughout the podcast, are ideological and psychological as well as physical. They are not just physical. This is and always has been the secret sauce to Toriyama's ultimate perfection of battle manga. Characters punching each other and getting stronger is cool and badass and makes for some really great visuals and some hype moments and all of those things. But if there's nothing underneath that fighting, it's just empty spectacle. Without a bit more to scratch at under the surface, an action show or movie is frankly and honestly very little different from porn. That sounds hyperbolic and insulting, but if you're really just skipping to the quote-unquote good parts, then your consumption of a piece of media is really no different than the way most people interact with pornography. They're not watching it for the story, they're not watching it for the characters, they're just watching it for the quote-unquote good parts.
The spectacle, yes.
And that's what empty spectacle is. The key conflict at play in the Frieza arc is the human or Earthling perception that one can grow their strength, and the Frieza Force or alien perception that one is judged essentially at birth, and that judgment assigns them their station in life moving forward, period. The Earthlings of Dragon Ball, or at least the heroic ones we follow as our core characters, believe that one's potential is essentially limitless, and one can always be better tomorrow than they were today. Characters have gone from finding 10-second 100-meter dashes impressive to moving so fast they leave an after image of themselves behind. The idea of ki has gone from something the characters themselves barely understood, aside from some sort of something that helps me be superhuman, to a flow of energy they understand so well they can detect it even at far off distances and change the flow of their own ki to raise and lower their power level and their utilization of their ki. People have even seen God himself offer his station to a mortal man, so there's essentially no ceiling on what one can achieve. Meanwhile, the aliens see everyone as having a fixed potential at birth, and no amount of hard work can overcome that classification. Strength is all that matters, and no amount of training in other avenues will increase one's potential beyond what is assigned at birth. And that is very different from the Earthlings who, again, a lot of their training isn't, and it's a thing that Roshi teaches us very beginning in the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai arc when he is training Goku and Krillin, that it's not just physical training. You also have to train your mind. You also have to rest. You also have to train your soul. It is not just physical. We've seen a lot of this mentality from the aliens, for the most part, to this point, illustrated through Vegeta, and we've talked about his worldview a bit in our Vegeta episode, so go back and listen to that. But this all comes from Frieza himself, because Frieza has always known himself to be stronger than anyone else, no matter what they do. He believes everyone is just at set levels, always. It's fascism. Let's call it what it is.
Textbook.
It's eugenics. There's a militaristic value associated with everyone and anything, and everything that doesn't help that ideal is useless. And unless you're the top dog, you're expendable. This is like Goku, where he kind of comes in. He's utterly expendable to the aliens of Dragon Ball. So much so that they send him to a faraway, unimportant planet and essentially forget about him.
This is to his betterment because, like the other Saiyans, namely Vegeta, the only other Saiyan we really ever get to know, Goku has a thirst for battle and takes hardship as a joy, but not because he knows he'll overcome hardships, rather precisely because he has no idea and wants to test himself. Contrast that with Vegeta, who only craves these challenges because he knows he'll overcome them, and every step along the way only reinforces the notion that he is destined for greatness, as he's always been told, and that his might and strength make him fully justified in believing that one day he will overthrow Frieza, and, furthermore, that anything he does in service of that goal is the right thing to do. Everything Vegeta ever does only narrows his mind further. Goku, by contrast, has his mind continually expanded, starting when Gohan drops him off a cliff and he hits his head. He's always growing and having his experiences broadened. He's taught to feel things and discover them. He learns to believe before seeing, as a Taoist or Buddhist would, with the implication being that belief is a prerequisite to sight and not a result of it. This narrow versus broad understanding of the world is even reflected in their character designs. Goku has an open face with wild, unkempt hair, and his clothes always look loose and almost baggy. Vegeta, on the other hand, has a persistent scowl, straight and narrow hair, and his outfit is tight-fitting. This is pretty true of Frieza as well, by the way. His final design is sleek and narrow and tight.
Lao Tzu had a saying, quote, "He who conquers others is strong, he who conquers himself is mighty," unquote. Goku fights to test himself and make himself better. He needs no other validation of his self-worth than the knowledge that he has given something his all, and if he fails, that he'll get it right next time. His entire existence runs counter to the way of Frieza and Vegeta and their understanding of the universe employed by this massive galactic organization. Goku strives to better himself and thus by accident winds up leading others and bringing them to his side in a constant quest to catch up with him. He's the ultimate Taoist in terms of like a fighting manga, as opposed to Frieza who seeks to rule by strength. And we could talk a lot about how in the aftermath of the battle between Goku and Vegeta, Vegeta's worldview starts to crumble, and we could run through examples and we could break down his psychology along the way. And maybe we'll do just that when we get to a pretty famous backslide for Vegeta that happens roughly 120 episodes from now.
So in a few years.
Not to pick any specific point, but let's not pretend that Goku is entirely unchanged by his encounter with Vegeta and his own subsequent battles. Goku's understanding of the universe shifts. I wouldn't say it fundamentally changes, because who Goku is as a person doesn't really change, but he just begins to see how many narrow-minded people there really are in the universe as a whole, and just how deep and pervasive that mindset is. He keeps giving Vegeta chance after chance to be better and keeps putting faith in him, and Vegeta keeps letting him down, striving for his own personal selfish gains rather than help for the betterment of all. He spares the Ginyu Force members only to watch Vegeta unceremoniously kill them. He gives Ginyu multiple chances and almost pays the ultimate price himself for it, and he even somewhat naively thinks that if he clashes with Frieza and starts to lose, it'll be okay because he gave it his all, and at least his friends will be able to get away. It's become almost tedious at this point how people will point out that, in fact, Goku didn't beat Vegeta and never has. That Goku actually lost their first fight, though, and was only the combined effort that repelled Vegeta, while Vegeta was physically able to at least limp away from their fight. Goku was circling the drain and may have died if help had not arrived almost immediately, and that's like medical help, not just his friends helping him beat Vegeta. He was like possibly going to die if he was just left out there. That's the thing about Goku, though. When he loses, he wins, because he learns his limits and he learns how to go past them, and he learns not to make similar mistakes again, and it pushes him to gain new strength in bursts that our other characters can't keep up with. Then on Namek, he loses. Bad. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't want to say Goku enjoys dying, but he's okay with it. He understands that if he pushes himself as far and as hard as possible and still falls short, he just might die. He also knows that it's okay if he does, because he'll get to King Kai's world and learn more and continue to become stronger and become an even better version of himself. But all throughout Goku's previous battles, the ones he was actually present for, nobody ever pays for his failures. If he fails. Sure, Bora is killed, and so is Krillin, and Roshi, and Chaozu, and Yamcha, and Tien, and Chaozu again, and Piccolo. But Goku wasn't there at those times. These things happen. They make Goku mad, but in his mind, he's always able to at least save those he cares about, even when he fails, because the wrath of whomever he's fighting gets visited on him, not on those around him. Then Frieza happens. And Frieza kills Krillin. Vegeta's been basically screaming at Goku and the other members of Team Namek this whole time that Frieza is a being they don't understand at all. Not only is he far more powerful than they can fathom, he's far more ruthless and evil. This isn't a person who will listen to reason. This is a person who will use reason against the reasonable. This isn't a person who will give quarter to his enemies. It's one who will toy with them until he's had his fun and then swiftly finish them off. Even when the battle between Goku and Vegeta became a group affair, Vegeta held on to like almost a smidge of honor and focused his efforts on the strongest fighter, namely Goku, understanding that if he could beat Goku, he could probably get the others to fall in line and submit. Frieza wants to leave nothing to chance or any opportunity to make a mistake, so he sets about killing the insects, killing the drones, killing the more insignificant, leaving himself free to then concentrate on the main threat. As Vegeta was influenced by Goku, in this moment, Goku becomes influenced by Vegeta. Huh? See?
What?
Goku feels everything fade away. He loses his attachment. He loses his broad view. He feels his mind and his heart do something they've never done before, and that's narrow down. And they narrow down on anger.
The Taijutsu, or yin-yang symbol, is one most people are very familiar with, and a lot of people roughly understand at least enough to say, yeah, you basically get it. It's meant to visualize that light cannot exist without dark, good without evil. And life is a constant swirl of those two forces, pushing and pulling against one another, but also that nothing is completely good nor completely evil. There's a spot of black in the white and a spot of white in the black. But this is a simplified and slightly more modern understanding of this symbol, as the ancient scriptures of Taoism speak of blue and red energy, with one leading, the other following, the roles reversing and the two continuously rotating up to higher levels. This is even reflected in the South Korean flag, which uses the symbol to represent harmony in the world and features a series of trigrams to represent movement and harmony between opposing forces as fundamental principles very roughly meant to symbolize the weak stay together, the strong stay together, the strong protect the weak, and the weak protect the strong. It's a justice and wisdom and vitality and fruition type of mentality. Now, Vegeta is blue, and in fact, in this context, blue does represent the yin or dark energy, and Goku, think both his general color aesthetic as well as Kaioken, is red, the yang or light energy. When Frieza murders Krillin in front of Goku, his heart fills with anger, his mind narrows. But his mind has always been empty, and not in a haha Goku's dumb kind of way, but in terms of like enlightenment quality. We've talked about this. Goku has wuxing. It's basically a quality that allows him to see the truth in all things because he's empty in a Taoist sense and aware of said emptiness. He holds no preconceived notions, no barriers, no prejudices. We've been talking about that for this entire episode so far. And thus, while being empty and broad in a general sense, but also narrow and extremely focused in this specific instance, Goku taps into something that to this point has only been legend and transforms. Now, Buddhist scriptures maintain that when a person reaches enlightenment and cultivates their spirit, it shines in a golden aura reaching to the skies. They even have a word for a moment of sudden enlightenment, as if someone were receiving the epiphany of all epiphanies, Satori. And the first character in Satori is the same as the first character in Goku's traditionally written name, which speaks to his enlightenment quality. Goku suddenly bursts into being enlightened. He has never had lies obstructing his truth, and his truth now is that he is angry, and there is no choice but to ascend and become even stronger. His obstructions, his care for his companions, have been removed. His true self bursts to the surface. He shines gold. He becomes a Super Saiyan.
Goosebumps.
Yeah, whoever wrote that did a really good job. For the record, not me. Not me, but it was good.
But yes, that is what the Super Saiyan transformation is. And yes, we've talked about the reason he goes blonde is because Toriyama ran out of time / got bored, whatever, and decided, you know what? He's going to be blonde. And I don't feel like coloring the hair in.
I was literally just telling a friend about that earlier today.
And there is definitely truth to that. But the reason he has a golden aura is all of this cultural stuff. Is Toriyama knows culturally that an enlightened being, he has seen statues and artwork and things of Buddhas who hit their moment of enlightenment and have this like golden aura burst out of them. Mm-hmm. That is culturally so deeply imprinted in Toriyama that that's where that comes from. I think when we take a look at the Lord Slug movie, we will see what is called false Super Saiyan, and I think it still has a golden aura.
It does.
Because that is something that was like always known is when this happens, and they knew it was going to happen, he's going to like burst into like a gold aura because it's like that's what they do. That's how they represent.
He's ascending to the next level.
And yes, an ascension. And we're gonna talk a little bit more about that in our next episode too. And we're gonna talk about like the different colors that ki turns when you refine it even more and more. But that's like when you become an enlightened being, you burst into gold. So that's where that comes from. And it is Goku is, and this is something that I will say, this is like as someone who is a big dub defender, this is a place where the dub very much gets it wrong. We'll talk about it more in the next episode, but the dub definitely does not harp, even in this one episode, enough or really at all on the loss of Goku's self in this moment. That he loses focus on the things he has previously cared about, and he narrows so much on, I gotta stop this guy, period, that it's kind of supposed to be a little scary.
Instead, in the dub, we get a very Superman-esque monologue.
That we'll talk about that in our next episode. But even here, I will say, I've heard people complain about the dub score during this part. I think it works. I think both the American and the Japanese score work actually here. I do think the American score has enough of gravitas and mysticism sort of around it to make it kind of work. What they don't like, Goku is like, Gohan, you have to get out of here. And Gohan's like, what? What? And he's like, Gohan, like, you gotta go. He's being a lot more harsh with him than that.
So, Gohan, you need to go. Daddy's got to put the smackdown on this guy.
And he even is like, get out of here. I don't know how much longer I can control myself, I think is a line that he says in the subtitles. There's supposed to be a little bit of holy bleep, what is happening? Like, what is going on? Like, everyone knows it's Super Saiyan, but like, what does it mean? Because there's a scariness to it. There's a Goku is feeling Vegeta to it.
Yeah.
And that is, as we keep talking more and more and we go further and further into the show and we talk about Vegeta and we'll do the Majin Vegeta episode and everything, and we'll eventually, we'll talk about like Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego and things. Vegeta is still just so narrow-minded and so singularly focused, and Goku manages to marry being open and narrow, being enlightened and empty, but also just filled with like a narrow focus. It's a tough thing to really kind of describe, but he manages to like marry both things, and that's why he's able to constantly ascend. He's able to get both of these mindsets working together.
I think, and I might be way off base here, but like, to me, in my head, it seems almost like when you take like a stage light, right? And you shine that thing and it covers a huge area, but then you can also focus it so that it comes in and just focuses on whatever particular spot you want. I feel like it's a similar thing to that. Like, he's taking all of this spirit that he has cultivated in this very wide, broad sense, and then seeing such a horrific act in front of him makes him realize, oh, I have to put everything I have into making sure this guy stops being who he is.
Yeah. Whereas Vegeta's like a laser pointer.
he's always like a laser pointer, yeah.
Yeah. And no matter what you do to a laser pointer, you're not going to like illuminate a stage with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty good metaphor for it, for sure. And this is one of the defining, most hype whatever moments in Dragon Ball.
Mm-hmm.
It's one that I like casually missed. As I've been rewatching these episodes, I realize that I've talked about how the very first time I saw Dragon Ball, it was like around this point. It was, but it was like, I don't think I like walked out just during the transformation sequence. I think I like had seen maybe the episode where he like lays Vegeta to rest, and then like it was like a very long marathon of Dragon Ball Z that was on.
Mm-hmm.
And we like watched something else. We might have watched a movie, whatever. I turned it back on, and it was like one of the episodes that's coming up soon where now Goku is shirtless and blonde. It very much looked like two different characters to me, and I was like, what even is happening in this show?
Understandable. There's a lot of context you missed there.
Yeah. But yes, this is like, I feel like everyone kind of like, everyone kind of remembers the first time they really saw this moment. This is like a textbook example of why, like, this whole moment right here is like one of the reasons why people will defend this anime forever, because
And this arc too, which has, like we've said, issues with certain things.
Right. Because the story never changes. And yes, in general, the manga is a lot better with pacing, oftentimes with like comedic timing and humor. Those are like the two biggest things. I'll say even sometimes with like just the general messaging, maybe, because the anime with its filler can sometimes muddy things a fair amount.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get into like moments like this, like these transformation sequences are, the anime's better. It just is.
Yeah. No, and I would kind of mirror those statements. I do feel like this transformation and this change in these characters is worth the watch, even though people can be very reductive and point out how cyclical and how it's always, oh, new bad guy, gotta go train. Like, yeah, but that's the whole point. The whole point is them to attempt something, realize that it's not enough, and then work on themselves to solve the problem and attack it once more, now with what they have learned as well as what they have learned about themselves, not just the antagonist. And I feel like, I don't know, I think I just lost my train of thought there.
What is that? It's that, like, we had in our notes a little while ago. It's not just a physical battle. It's psychological.
Like you said, it's more about, and this is something. Oh, that's what it was. I was going to tie it into like other anime that I've seen. That philosophical bend to it, where the fights are not just, this guy has a bigger number, so we have to train, so our number gets bigger, so we can fight this guy. This guy, yes, has a bigger number, but he's also representative of like a life philosophy. And all of the protagonists also have their own life philosophies. And so it's not just throwing punches and kicks and energy balls at each other. It's trying to show through who wins that fight, whose philosophy is the, I guess, more correct one, right? And you see, and this becomes a standard in Battle Shonen from this point going forward. It was probably present in similar ways in previous titles, but this one really honed in on that idea of, no, you can keep having just straight fights, but there has to be a subtext to it.
Right.
And like this shows up a lot in like Hajime no Ippo. Each boxer has their own philosophy when it comes to boxing. They mix different aspects of their lives into like how they train and how they fight. And every time Ippo gets in the ring with somebody, it's not just, is he going to win the fight? It's an examination of how these fighters got to where they are, the type of people that support them, the type of worldviews that they have, and then determining, as far as boxing is concerned, who is the more, air quotes, boxer of the two, I guess you would say. And then also Yu Yu Hakusho is another one where it's like this sort of guy with a gray checkered past who's being thrown into these situations where he's fighting literal demons, and he's not even like the best guy on earth. He's just like a guy. He's a delinquent, but even he is like, no, the way these guys are doing things is wrong and it needs to be changed, and goes off and intervenes in those types of things. But yeah, it's just a pattern that starts to show up in any kind of shonen from this point going forward. Even the newer stuff like My Hero Gachakuda that just came out. I've been watching that. It's the same thing. You have these battles, but it's more about the philosophy of the characters than it is about any physical thing that they do.
Right, and it's not. It's almost like it's not as black and white as just good guy, bad guy type of thing. And I mean, it is, because it's easily understood, but it's like, it's not as plot driven.
Yeah,
Right?
and I would even make the argument that like Goku versus Frieza is pretty black and white for the most part.
Oh yeah. It's just it's not plot driven. Like Frieza doesn't have a grand plot when he takes on Goku. Right?
I think his whole plot basically boils down to, oh, this guy's being annoying. Well, now I have to go destroy Earth. Just like, to make a point.
He doesn't have like, he's not like, oh, I'm going to get the MacGuffin of power and rule the universe. He like already thinks that he rules the universe. Like,
yeah, like his plan is not so much take over the universe, it's more make sure that my rule is eternal.
Right. And I think that's a big shift in storytelling. And yes, I'm sure there were examples before that, but up to this point, that is a pretty big shift in storytelling. And especially when we talk about like who Toriyama was and the influences that he grew up with. Toriyama grows up watching Ultraman. And listen, I love Ultraman. I have watched all but I think 3 or 4 of the series at this point. No, it's more than that because I haven't watched some of the ones that are newer. That sounds like I haven't watched a lot, but I've watched way more than I haven't watched. I love Ultraman, but it is Monster of the Week. It is this alien or monster or bad guy wants to do this thing, and Ultraman wants to stop him. It's not Ultraman is fighting for a open world. It does get to that like in the 2000s, but not in the 60s, not in the 70s, not when Toriyama was watching it.
Yeah.
Godzilla movies are not like psychological examinations. You can pin some psychology into them, but they're not the entertainment that Toriyama grew up on is not stuff that worked because the psychology underneath it had stuff to pick apart. It worked for all kinds of other reasons that had to do with like creativity and trailblazing and, you know, new technologies and all kinds of other reasons. Generally speaking, not as like much going on psychologically underneath as is at play, as we've just talked about for 45 minutes on Goku versus Frieza.
Yeah.
/ Goku versus Vegeta. I mean, it's almost the same thing when we talk about those at this point in the story.
It's almost like the artists of today are influenced by the artists of yesterday in a sort of yin and yang way. to bring it full circle.
Well, and that's where I was gonna end up with was, it's interesting that we talked about Toriyama has been openly critical of more modern, and by more modern I would say anything from like the 80s and beyond, storytelling, because he thinks things got too serious and he wanted them to be more lighthearted. But at the same time, when we talk about like the underpinnings and what makes your thing work beyond just being empty spectacle, he 100% was at the forefront and right along line with even some of his contemporaries when it came to sort of redefining what weekly lighthearted entertainment could be under the surface.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, definitely.
So, really, really good stuff here. And, where I think of the major Super Saiyan transformations in Dragon Ball Z, this is, I mean, I always think of there being only 3, personally.
Okay.
Because I always just think of the first time we see each one. Maybe that's wrong of me, because I am overlooking the first time we see Vegeta transform, and a few others, like the shocker that Trunks is also Super Saiyan. What other ones would there be?
Probably
have, like,
Gohan's is pretty good because it happens in the
hyperbolic time
chamber, right?
Yeah.
It's like a whole big thing.
His initial one. Yeah. There's also like Vegeta becoming Super Vegeta and Trunks bulking up to his bulky form, and those are given like big kind of bombastic moments. But I always just think of this one, Gohan going Super Saiyan 2 and Goku going Super Saiyan 3. And those are really hard to rank against each other. And as much as I really, really love this one, I think of those three, I would put this one at the bottom, actually.
Oh, interesting. Which one would you put at the top?
Super Saiyan 3.
Ooh, see, I'd have gone with Gohan Super Saiyan 2, personally.
Yeah, it's really tough to rank those three against each other. It's like they're all the best one.
Yeah, they're all. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. They're all really good. Like this is such like a narrow like ordering of things. But yeah, I think what edges out Super Saiyan 3 for me is the fact that like it's so limited in how much we see it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it gets that big moment, it's awesome, but then like there's not like a huge fight necessarily that follows it up right afterwards, and it feels a bit more like a tease.
It does also come at what feels, even at the time, like a less. You might be changing my mind. Like a less climactic moment in the story as a whole.
Yeah, where it's almost like, well, I mean, he does do it to basically like distract the antagonists, and it's almost like a distraction in the middle of the storyline. So I guess thematically it works.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like the first time I saw that, I was like blown. Like I watched that scene 85 times in a row.
I'm surprised that Sean Schimmel did not like scream his lungs out of his body with that transformation.
The Super Saiyan 2 one is excellent though too.
Yeah.
I will give it like the thing I'll give this one is this one absolutely, I think, carries the most emotional weight to it, even in a hindsight type of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Super Saiyan 2 feels like it carries a lot of emotional weight to it, and it definitely does, and it's all about Gohan finally letting go and becoming, and really tapping into the potential we've now seen him have already for 90 episodes, and we'll see him have for another 100 episodes before he finally taps into it.
Yeah.
But when you get kind of cynical and look back at it, the thing that makes him tap into it is some dude that he met like a couple of days ago, who's not even really a dude, he's a robot.
Yeah.
If you want to get like cynical and nasty about it. If you want to get cynical and nasty about this, you're like, oh, the thing that made him tap into it was seeing his friend get killed again. Yeah, that might piss me off a little bit too.
Well, also Piccolo gets knocked into the dirt too, right before that, and Piccolo just saved his life.
Right.
So it's there's that too.
It might make me a little mad if I avenged my friend's death and then had to watch him die again.
Yeah, that would be pretty rough. I also think that like with this transformation, it's also how do you expect that to happen? Like there's no expectation for that to happen. Whereas with Super Saiyan 2 and 3, we've kind of like once you hit Super Saiyan 2, the fact that there's a Super Saiyan 3 is no longer surprising.
Yeah.
Whereas with this one, we've seen Goku use his Kaioken. We've seen him bump it up to 20. Still, Frieza's here. We watch him charge up a spirit bomb the size of a small moon. That doesn't work. And at that point in the story, any reader's got to be like, we've gone through Goku's whole arsenal. What could we possibly do at this point? And then,
they have been,
bam.
They have been sort of talking up the Super Saiyan thing for a long time, but like,
yeah, but it's
we have
the way that they talk
no
about
context.
it almost feels like it's more just hitting a certain power level as opposed to, no, this is like an actual like transformation for this person.
Right. Exactly. We never, we hear Vegeta talk about this. The Super Saiyan is a warrior who is like, he says like the Super Saiyan is a warrior who eliminates indiscriminately or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
well, it's mirrored by his worldview, right?
Right.
But yeah, it's like this cold, ruthless killer, basically.
Right. And that's all the context that we get. There was a Super Saiyan. He was this cold, ruthless warrior, killer. Nothing could stop him. And that's all that we know of a Super Saiyan. Vegeta's never like, oh, it was this golden warrior who like,
Yeah, exactly.
We get no context for what it means to be a Super Saiyan until we see it. So then, yes, getting a Super Saiyan 2 and a 3 is that's where I think in terms of like the transformations don't start to get almost back to that like subversive type of situation until you see like Super Saiyan God the first time, because now it's not just a further Super Saiyan, like even the hairstyle remains
it's more like a refinement of your ki, like another way to do it.
It's just we have no context for what a Super Saiyan God is going to look like, right? Just like in this moment, we have no context for what a Super Saiyan is going to look like. But then when you tell me that there's a 2 and a 3 and things like that, you're like, oh, okay, so it's just going to be like a different kind of gold or something, like.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, this is it's unexpected, it's shocking, and it's really fantastic. And
2 thumbs up.
If it were a little bit better paced, you'd genuinely be able to like be mad at people for not watching it.
I think if this were slightly better paced, I don't think there would be too many people arguing that this isn't the best arc in Dragon Ball. I think you'd still have some people make an argument for Cell, and I could totally understand that. But I think if this arc was better paced, I think this would be the arc of Dragon Ball Z.
I could probably get on board with that. Because you know how I love my Dragon Balls to be important in my Dragon Ball arcs.
Makes sense.
And they are super important in this arc.
Oh yes, very.
But the glacial pacing is a rough go sometimes.
Well, limits of the medium, I guess.
Yep. Well, that's all I think I have for now on Super Saiyans.
That's all I got.
For now. We've got a 2, a 3, a 4, a God, what is it?
Super Saiyan, God, Super Saiyan.
We've got a Rosé.
Yes.
So we've got plenty of opportunities to talk about Super Saiyans more.
Shocking, I know. Hey, can we go now?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, what made you decide it was safe all of a sudden?
Pacing.
Is this another one of your "we're living in a script" type of things?
No. What? I was pacing myself. I expended a lot of energy on that shout and wanted to be ready for anything we might meet when we hop through the portal.
You never cease to amaze me.
Thank you.
Not complimentary. Anyways, let's go!
Right behind you.
What? Hey, don't push me!
What will we find on the other side of this hole through space? Will we be able to return home? Find out next time and help us achieve our final forum.
Final Form is written and produced by Tom Gwelly. It is performed by Dan Kinney and Tom Gwelly. Our webmaster is Dan Kinney. Our theme music is provided by YouTube content creator GVG Kit. Want to learn more about the Dragon Ball universe, including concept art, behind-the-scenes interviews, and recommendations from Jelli and Bekinney? Connect with us on social media. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Final Forum Pod. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you receive your podcasts. And of course, make sure to share it with your friends and family and help us spread the word of the glory of Lord Frieza. The Frieza Force thanks you for your listenership.